Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Money with Alpha. This week I have a lovely guest who I've been trying to get on here for quite a while, and she's finally here. Hi, Isabella.
Hi, Alpha. Hi, everyone.
So Isabella Bucciol is, I've known her for a number of years now, and our daughters go to school together, and they're very good friends too. So I've gotten to watch your journey. So we're going to go into a little bit of that. But at the moment, for now and going forward, Isabella is a counselor and psychotherapist, as well as a family constellation practitioner. We're going to delve into what all of that is because I've been in the world of personal development and different modalities, but I had never heard of constellation before. So I was fascinated by it and I've experienced just a little bit of it. And it's very powerful. So we'll delve into that as well. But first of all, Isabella, do you want to give us a little bit of your background, where you started out, and a little bit how you came to Australia? Because this isn't where you were born or grew up. So what then motivated that move?
Yeah. So thank you for having me here in your podcast, Alpha. I'm really happy. I'm a bit anxious, as I mentioned just a couple of minutes before, because usually, talking, it's not really my favorite things to do, even though I'm getting better. But it's more the thought about this, the thought about talking. Then when I am in the moment, usually I just go. Yeah, so I'm a counselor and psychotherapist. My master degree was done in Australia, so that's kind of a recent change of career for me. And before I work in human resource, so in Italy, which is my country, I had a degree on human resource training and development specifically, which is, in Australia, it's not really a degree, it's more like a certificate, but for me, it was a degree.
Mhm,
And this is where I come from. Um, I think I always been passionate about psychology
mhm,
and how mind and behavior are interconnected.
mhm,
And I think it was my biggest passion, since I was kind of a teenager. So I always read um, very heavy books, I have to
mhm.
say, like Freud and psychoanalysis, and, not probably something that usually teenagers read.
Yeah.
But that was my biggest passion, and I really enjoy reading this. And so then when I had to choose my degree, I was okay, that's my path, right? Psychology.
Mhm,
But then it turned into something different because of a very practical reason. Like I couldn't, in Italy is a bit different. And so the classes were compulsory. And at that moment, I couldn't really commit to being there because I had to work to, pay for my uni.
mhm,
And so I said, okay, probably that's not my path. So let's find an alternative that could be psychology and human being,
mhm,
people, because I'm a people person. I'm really social. I like to be with people.
mhm,
Um, and I was lucky enough that the city where I choose to do my degree was like the university and was yeah, training and development, which I really love. I really
yeah.
love, and also because it met the organizational side, like working in organization and companies, and yeah. So I think it was a good choice. Yeah.
Yeah, you sort of managed to sort of fulfill that human aspect, and then doing it in a way which sort of, yeah, probably didn't go to
Yes.
the level of depth that you do now. But
Yes.
yes, yeah, it's interesting the path that we take. I always have to giggle when, I mean, and I still remember feeling as a teenager that, oh my gosh, the choice I make now is going to determine the rest of my life. And I remember my stepdaughter felt the same at that age too. I thought, oh my goodness, this is. But then when you are on the other side of that, and you're kind of like, I'm further away from 17 than I am close to it, and you kind of go, wow, the path really does deviate and twist and turn. And here you are starting a new career at your sort of your different phase of life. And so it is possible. So it's
Yes.
really,
Yes.
kudos to you for pursuing that because it's
Yes.
been a lot of hard work.
It was, yes. And I have to say, I wasn't really a brilliant student. And in high school, I really struggled. Uh, I think not because of what I was studying, not because of the school,
Hmm.
but because of everything else that was going on in my life and in my family. Um, so then when I finished high school, I really didn't want to do any study at all. So I took 1 year off schools, of
Hmm.
studies, just to understand what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a good year. And
Yeah.
I
That
decided,
gap year is,
yeah.
yeah, I think it's good. I didn't do it, and I somewhat regret it because I was like, oh, I feel like because I finished high school quite young. So I was 16 when I finished grade 12 and then went straight into university. But I was afraid that if I didn't do it then, I would never do it because I was a little bit like, oh, pushed from my mother and my grandmother was like, you have to do this. And if I didn't, I would have, the wrath would have been tremendous. Well, at least the perception of it. So I was more scared of them than anything else. So in being in Italy, what was and in your family as well, because there was some turmoil, but how does money does it get spoken about in Italy? Is it like is it a taboo subject? And in terms of like the role of women in that, it's like working and being independent, I have these ideas in my head that, similar to my father's sort of Eastern European culture, which is different from Italian, but the woman is kind of like the accessory to the man who just sort of that's their pathway to wealth is finding a husband. Was that like that in Italy as well, or what was your experience?
Yeah, it was like that, for sure. You know, first of all, Italy is very different. So when you say Italy, you think about the country, but actually from north to south,
Hmm.
there are a lot of differences.
Yeah,
So I come from the north, so I bring my,
yeah,
northern perspective
yeah.
in this. And yes, that's true. Back then, women were pretty much like housewives, and they stay at home, looking after children and the house, and the man was the one going to work. Uh, but I can't say this about my family because my mom never stayed at home and she always worked. Coming from, her background as well, she started to work at a very young age to
Hmm.
help the family. Immigrants, by the
Hmm.
way.
Yeah.
And yeah, immigration is part of my family background. And I
Hmm.
never realized this before coming to Australia.
Hmm.
But then, there was one point when I said, well, I went all the other side of the world and I have an uncle here, an uncle there, an auntie here, an auntie there. And I realized that my family is all spread around the world.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so money in my family was such a difficult topic.
Hmm.
As I said, my mom always worked and she worked in with my father.
Hmm.
They built a company,
Hmm.
uh, a factory. They were making furniture,
Hmm.
like very artisan, like from scratch. And
Yeah.
they built this company together, which was a very, healthy company back then. And they started before I was born.
Hmm.
And then eventually it grew up. And yeah, it's still alive now,
Hmm.
but not as wealthy as it was
Yeah.
like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And my mom always worked in the company.
Hmm.
But the relationship between my parents wasn't the best relationship.
Hmm.
It was a kind of a toxic relationship. And so probably, it didn't help managing a business and a family together. Wasn't really a good thing for them.
Yeah.
So the two were, play into each other a lot.
Mm.
And the money were always a burden. Like there were
Yeah.
never money, never enough money for the family. Um, we couldn't do a lot of things. And this was especially when um, I was there. Like from what my mom and my parents told me, it was different before I was born.
Hmm.
In the 70s, the Italy had an economic boom. So there was, very wealthy. It was very good. But then it changed.
Hmm.
And so I was born when it changed, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But then there was also a difference in the way they deal with money themselves. So my father has always had a relationship with money, which was money equal power and control.
Hmm.
So he
Yeah.
used this a lot, even, with us children and with my mom. And for my mom, money where they are never enough. They are never enough, and I have to sacrifice myself
Hmm.
for the family,
Right.
right? So that was the environment I grew up with.
Yeah. And then trying to navigate that, learning about psychology, and then recognizing that you are empowered to make changes. And that's quite tremendous because a lot of people will just kind of repeat the pattern. It sort of tends to go, majority tend to sort of follow the path, and even if they kind of deviate to start with, they end up going back to that. Like I even noticed myself, there's some things that I saw my mother do with money when I was growing up, and I was like, oh, I'm never going to be like that. And then sure enough, in my mid 20s, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm becoming my mother. But then I had to like make a conscious effort to change that. And so you moved over to the other side of the world, which is probably a pretty big pattern interrupt. So
Yes.
what triggered you to come to Australia?
I think money probably was in there in my decision.
Yeah.
I always wanted to travel the world. That was an inner feeling, something that has always been with me.
Yeah.
Um, Again, since I was very little, probably because of my family background. I don't know if it was an unconscious kind of memory that I carry.
Mm.
But yes, and I had an opportunity to go as an au pair in America,
Mm-hmm.
which I refused back then
Mm-hmm.
because I had to finish high school. So I prioritized the school and I didn't want to do that. Um, Probably one decision that the one that you say, if I could go back in time, I would choose to do the other way.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, so then, finish high school, started university, finish university with all the struggle of money and seeing my parents struggling with money, my
Mm.
mom struggling with money. And my mind was always, I have to be responsible, I have to be, mature, I have to do this. So whenever my mom wasn't able, I want to do this for my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to work very early. So I was 14 when I start to work during the high school and, weekends, all the festivity. And actually one year I work pretty much all year during school.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was always like, something that you want to reach and you're never able to get,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like a, how do you say in English?
It's like a
Chimera.
goal that just never it's constantly it's like
Yes,
the carrot that keeps moving.
exactly. So then when I finished uni, I decided, okay, that's if I wait, and I was 26. If I wait to go to see the world, I will never do it. And so that's the
Mm.
reason why I said, okay, that's the moment. Now is the moment that I have to do it,
Yeah.
not regardless of whatever is there. So I
Yeah.
really took this decision. And back then, I wasn't sure where to go. So Australia was not really my first choice.
Yeah.
There was Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
which I've been there, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a beautiful country. I really loved it. So it
Mm-hmm.
was okay, let's go to Brazil or Australia. In Australia, I had a brother, and my best friend was here.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep saying, oh, Australia is great. What beautiful country, there are money, there are a lot of good opportunities here. So that's why I decided to go on the other side of the world, very far away,
Yeah.
and probably not by case. I really went, far away
Yeah.
from my family.
Mm.
Um, and then when I arrived here in Australia, the money perception was different, very
Mm-hmm.
different.
Yeah.
It's a wealthy country, probably, a lot of people know that.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of opportunities, and I really thought, okay, maybe let's see what will happen, right?
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't easy, because I came with a working holiday visa, so that was good. Awesome,
Yeah.
right? You can stay here for 1 year, work,
Yeah.
do holiday. I basically always work
Yeah.
and never had many holidays. Um, but I saw the simplicity and, how easy it was to have money and
Hmm.
save money.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting because, like everything, everyone, there's this perception of, oh, wait, the way it is here is hard or it's complicated or whatever. And then someone else comes in and like, oh my gosh, it's so much easier than what we have. And that there's all this like comparisonitis that happens. But ultimately, our own journeys are all somewhat unique, but we can have common problems. And I think money, the lack of it creates problems, but then having it also creates problems. So thinking that it's going to solve everything, it's the tool. Everything else
Yes.
is behind us, and which is the work that you now do with people with the counseling and the psychotherapy and even the family constellation. But in the
Yes.
meantime, you decided to, in a country that was sort of foreign to you, is to start a business. So you actually have built with your partner a successful business as well, which is you've now stepped aside from to pursue your passion, which I think is also wonderful. But you have that, that achievement behind you as well. So did that play into in giving you, I suppose, encouragement that you are actually not so bad with money?
Yes. I from one point of view, I don't think I was bad with money because I was actually a very good saver. Like I've
Hmm.
always been very careful with money,
Yeah.
uh, savings. So, the mature part of me always look at, you have to save money, be
Yeah.
sure that you have like a buffer there if something
Hmm.
happen, pay your bills. So I never really, I never struggle on this side.
Hmm.
And I never asked for money, so I did everything pretty much by myself, which I'm a bit proud of.
Yeah, of course, you should be.
Um, but then yes, there was this belief of you do a lot, you're doing a lot, and you never get to a point
Hmm.
where you want to be.
Yeah.
So that was the struggle on my side. But
Yeah.
yes, I built a business with my partner. I did this with him.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very happy that we were able to do this. This came after, a long um, initial journey,
Yeah.
my sponsor and other things.
Yeah.
But then eventually, yes, we opened this business and it's a gelato shop. So that's Italian gelato shop.
Yeah.
My partner is the one that makes the gelato.
Yeah.
So it's actually the the most important part of this is him making the gelato, of course, making the product. But then, I come with him, next to him, managing all the other side,
Yeah. The
admin,
business
emails,
itself
like all
is,
of this. So,
yeah, the business itself wouldn't run without the back end.
yeah,
I was,
both of us,
yeah,
right?
I always think about back in the 80s, they had like the VHS cassettes and then they had the Beta, and they were two different size cassettes. Quality wise, from what I understand, the Beta were the better quality, but VHS had the better marketing machine. So two products very similar, but one promoted themselves better and the other
Mhm.
one just disappeared. So without that sort of marketing promotion, building the customer base and building that business, the product, not that it doesn't matter, of course it matters, but it's very important that the business engine is healthy. So
Yes, I think it was our strength.
yeah,
Two different people doing two different things, but
yes,
both of them very important
yeah,
and essential to the business because without one you can't really have a business.
yeah.
So yes,
So pivoting then into your sort of new-ish career, although it's your love and your passion from a long time ago, uh, I'm really interested because I'd like people to understand the concept of family constellation, and you definitely explain it a lot better than I would. So can you just share with the audience what it actually is and why you think it is so powerful?
yes. I always say you have to come and experience because that's the best way to understand. But
Hmm.
of course, I explain what it is. And yes, at the end, I came back to what I like to do most now
Yeah,
that I'm doing this work. I connect all the dots, right? That were in
yeah,
my life before. And so yes, I've done family constellation, and I approached to this method 20 20 years ago, more or less. I was 21, no, 22 actually. The first time that I experienced family constellation. And I have to thank my mom really, because she was the one saying, oh, I'm doing this, that's something new. Um, do you want to come with me? I
Hmm.
said, okay. I'm always been very happy, open to try new things.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was doing this was also surprising for me.
Mm.
She was going through, a divorce and, separation. So yes, I went there, and my experience was a bit fearful at the beginning. I was like,
Hmm.
there are a lot of people here. I think we were like 50 plus people in the room, doing weird stuff, because the opening was like dancing. And even
Which you
though,
would have loved.
yes, you know me, I love dancing, but dancing in front of other people wasn't my thing back then. I was really shy, I have to be honest, not the person I am today. Um, but anyway, and we sit down in this group, and I actually had my constellation. So I work as a client, and to me it was surprising and eye-opening, and it answered a lot of questions that I had for a very long time. And the weight that I felt on my shoulder back then
Mhm.
was just there in front of me. The reason why I felt that way was just there in front of me.
Mm.
And where I had a lot of, answers from here, I also had a lot of questions there. But it
Yeah.
was a really good experience, very different from other things.
Yeah.
And then during my life, I always done family constellation as client, so participating as client for myself
Yeah.
to understand a little bit more, to understand, the kind of stuck I felt I was in
Hmm.
during many times of my life. And when I arrived to Australia, I tried to find something like this, and it wasn't common. I
Yeah.
realized that wasn't around.
Yeah.
And I found just one person who was doing this.
Yeah.
And funny things, she was in Brisbane, where, very, very close to where I was living back then. And funny again, I opened my gelato shop exactly in the suburb where she was. So I think it wasn't by case, really.
Yeah. I don't believe in many coincidences. So yeah.
A career. So back in the kind of psychology space, I said, because I really like this approach and I really see how it impacts people in a positive way,
Hmm.
I want to learn how to do this.
Hmm.
And so that's why then I went to my course, I did my training, and I became the family practitioner,
Yeah.
systemic family practitioner.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I like the most about it, and this happens a lot with not just money, but a lot of the issues that we have, is that they're kind of taken on from family history. There's so much stuff that's buried in our DNA that we don't necessarily recognize consciously, but it's impacting us. So that feeling of why do I never feel like I'm reaching my goals, or what, there's this intangible thing that we can't really articulate or understand because we might not have had a direct experience of it, or at least not a direct conscious experience. And you can look back in your history. Like I look back at my grandmother and my great grandmother, and I look at the period of history which was very tumultuous, and think I can conceptualize how and why they were the way they were and how that's probably impacted me. But the family constellation or the systemic constellation goes back into that family of origin, what's actually kind of transpired back then. And it's also taking it a little bit outside yourself. And that's why you need other people in a group environment to kind of play it back to you with the perspective in roles that you wouldn't normally have thought to do
Yes.
because we're stuck in our own heads and our own bodies. But somebody else can see things possibly clearer when they look at us and we can see it on ourselves. So that's why I think it's quite powerful. And you do it in group environments now as well, too. You hold
Yes.
workshops here.
You can do it individually,
Hmm.
which is a little bit different, and you
Yeah,
can do it in group. I always
yeah,
love the group part
yeah.
because, of course, you have the energy of the other people plays in. So to give you a little bit of an explanation that probably is useful
Mhm.
also for the people that are listening to us.
Yeah.
Um, Family constellation had influences of other approaches.
Hmm.
One of these was Anne Schutzenberg,
Okay.
who is the one that talk about um, psychology and the genogram, so
Hmm.
our family tree.
Yeah.
And she saw in her experience something that was really particular. She
Hmm.
saw what she called anniversary. So she saw in working with clients, right?
Yeah.
Because she was a psychotherapist.
Yeah.
In working with clients, she saw how experiences were repeatedly during the life of a person
Hmm.
in a very specific time frame. So
Hmm.
that's why she called it anniversary,
Right.
because somehow the client was experiencing something or had an episode of something
Hmm.
that was back in the line
Hmm.
7 years before, and 7 years before again, and 7 years
Hmm.
before again, happened the same things over
Okay.
generation, right? So she
Yeah.
she found this connection, and it's very interesting to read her books. Then there is another influence from Moreno and the psychodrama,
Hmm.
which is very similar to family constellation, but there is a kind of a script in psychodrama that it's more like acting,
Okay.
where in family constellation there isn't any script and it's
Hmm.
definitely not acting.
Yeah.
But also what is important in family constellation is what happened when you are in a group.
Hmm.
And this touches into the work of Sheldrake, Rupert Sheldrake,
Right.
who was the one that saw that there is a kind of he called it morphogenetic fields
Hmm.
and morphic resonance.
Right.
That sounds very probably difficult words, but I will explain this. He sees in nature first
Hmm.
as he sees a system, so
Hmm.
what a system does,
Yeah.
and how the elements of one system relate to each other.
Hmm.
Not just for genetics,
Hmm.
not just for DNA, and not just for epigenetics,
Hmm.
but more at an unconscious level.
Right.
So he says it looks like, right, that the system carry a kind of a memory,
Hmm.
and somehow, because we are all made of energy,
Hmm.
we have this memory embedded in us.
Yeah.
So we behave in a way unconsciously
Yeah.
that is because we have this memory.
Hmm.
Like, tell me if I explain this well,
Yeah, no, and
or
it's
it's a bit
interesting.
complicated.
Yeah, no, no, it's yeah, it's interesting because there's a few words sort of rolling around in my head now, like quantum physics and that whole nature versus nurture. There's so much more to it, and I think
Yeah.
that's sort of going towards sort of the explanation of are we all, is it only nurture? Mm-mm. There's nature in there. Why? Because there's morphology, there's, epigenetics, and even the energetic field, like around the quantum realm
Mhm.
as well, has really started to become a lot more well known and a lot better understood. And I
Yeah,
think a lot
correct,
of this is
correct.
helping with that too.
Yeah, because we come from, the theory of Darwin, we come from, the DNA and the discovery of genomes, but the research has shown that it wasn't enough to
Yeah.
explain a lot of dynamics.
Yeah. Well, because I'm fat, like, well, you're fascinated. I'm fascinated by habits, and habits kind of tie into that a little bit as well, because we're like, why is it so hard to change that? And you're like, well, our brains are still very much fight or flight, survival because of our genetics and where we've actually like originated. So there's all of that going on in the background, and we've now created this modern world relatively quickly to the point where our DNA and our brain structures and all of that haven't been able to actually really catch up with what's truly going on. So there's so many things our brains are thinking are going to like hurt us. And this is where like the money side comes in too, because anytime we try to make a change, it's like our brains have this alarm system going off like, ooh, danger, you're making a change. No, 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 we're going to cut this down. We're going to take you back to where you used to always be. You know, those patterns that kept you alive. We're going to take you right back there because what you're doing now, we don't get. We don't understand it. We don't have a point of reference for it. All of your programming is sitting back here. You want to change the program. We don't know what's going to happen. So you step it off. You could step off the cliff. We don't know what's there.
Yes,
So
correct.
it's,
And
yeah,
where, mindset, beliefs, all this part around money, which is, what you do,
yeah,
um, it's absolutely an important aspect and is an aspect.
yeah,
My work is more into the unconscious,
yeah,
what we carry from generation.
yes.
And when it comes to family constellation, money, a lot of things, but money in this case is pretty much related to loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever happened in our past generation
Yeah.
that was like a betrayal, that sounded like, I kill for money, or, I stole money from someone, or even, there was a debt that wasn't repaid.
Mm-hmm.
That's an unconscious, um, that's something that happened and wasn't resolved. So the burden keeps coming back into generation.
Yeah.
And what happened is, because it's we are talking about a system,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the unconscious mind goes into, I have to belong to this system, and to belong to this system, I have to be loyal to whatever happened back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, maybe you have money, but you waste money, right? You throw money away, or you gamble, or, a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Or I work so hard, but then I never receive the money for what I did. Many,
Mm-hmm.
many different things, but
Yeah.
they are unconscious. And in
Yeah.
family constellation, you can see that when you work with people,
Yeah.
you really see where it's coming from, like the very first um, episode that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can go back and heal it.
And then you can go back and heal it. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, you can do that. There are laws, it's a specific, there is a specific law and
Mm-hmm.
order, and, that you have to follow.
Yeah.
So it's not something just throw it and, whatever. No, there are actually laws.
Yeah.
And these laws come from the inventor, like the founder of family constellation, who was Bert Hellinger.
Mm-hmm.
And in briefly, I tell you the story very brief. He was a missionary in Africa, South
Mm-hmm.
Africa, and he stayed with the Zulu tribes.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw the dynamics in the group, like in the
Mm-hmm.
tribes, and what regulates these dynamics. So then he started to do family constellation based on this.
Right.
And belonging is one of the first and most
Mm.
important law to follow.
Yeah. Because without that, you're out on your own, subject to whatever predator is out there with no one to protect you or kind of help you. So
Mhm.
belonging, yeah. And that's
Yes,
what we
absolutely.
do as human tribes.
It's belonging to your family, right? It's belonging to your system, that is
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
And if the person decide to do something different, which
Mhm.
goes unconsciously, against the rule of the system, that's
Mm.
where the entanglement happen.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting actually. There's that whole they talk about, rebels or people who are breaking the rules or and you're like, are there people who are, I suppose, born to question the system, to break old paradigms? Do you believe that?
I think yes, that's interesting because the um, and Schutzenberg, she
Yeah,
talk about this like a child that is born for one reason because
yeah,
the system needs
yeah,
that. And yeah, that's very interesting. And we could talk a lot about
yeah,
this.
yeah.
But yes, then what happens is if you don't follow whatever the system wants, so you are the rebel or the black sheep,
Mm-hmm.
that is good for you,
Mm-hmm.
but you carry the weight of this choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you have to kind of heal within the family system
Yeah. Yeah,
to
to
feel
sort of
better,
yeah,
to
and
feel
also to sort of
recognized.
normalize the change. Otherwise, it's just you blazing a trail and it's not actually really making any kind of improvement or impact. And sometimes the impacts can be positive or negative too. So there's this is the thing with like money with energy. It can be used for good. It can be used for evil, for want of a better word. There's it's sort of it's neutral. It's
Mhm.
agnostic. So we have to then decide who we want to be in that space, and also work with the information that we've got, because that's the other thing too. We're all told certain things about our histories, but are they really true? There's a few things in my family history where I'm like, I know the stories that I've verbally heard, but there's something about them that just doesn't feel ring true to me. There's just certain pieces that don't feel like they connect. So the family constellation would help to understand that. And that's not to say that everything needs to be understood or clarified, but in some cases, I think it can heal past wounds, which then create this energy block that removes, and then you can move forward, and then make sure that your children as well don't fall prey to the same patterns again and again.
Yes, and it's the recognition of this
Yeah.
that heal. And it doesn't mean that like the healing doesn't come from you don't following what you want to do and agree to the system.
Mm.
The healing comes from I see what happened and now this system accept whatever happened. And so I'm included even though I choose a different path.
Yes.
So
Okay.
in this regard. And of course, in doing that, you break the cycle. So it benefit your children because they will not
Mm.
do the same cycle, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, because you can make it if there's agency involved, I think in the decision, if it's something that's done without your consent, for want of a better word, or conscious acknowledgement, the unconscious just sort of sits there behind it, and you end up sort of either feeling like you don't fit or, in conflict constantly without even realizing why. But if you get to the point where you can reconcile why and the conflict dissolves away, then you can still be you, but belong at the same time.
Yeah, super important.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I
We
agree.
all want to belong to our family, right? We come from our parents, we come from our ancestors, so this is uh the our place.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and
of
yeah,
course,
and we're
yes.
all related. I know, like, our daughters are learning about, how creatures and beings have evolved over time. And she'll come and she says, "Does that mean I am related to Matilda?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, she is my sister." I was like, it's such a beautifully, innocent thing for a child to say. I was like, I really wish there was more in the world where we could say, you know what, we are all related. So can we stop fighting, please? And look
Yeah,
for the
of course.
commonalities rather than the differences.
True. Absolutely true. Yes.
So anyway, that's a bigger problem to tackle. Right now, we'll just, one person and one family at a time.
Yes. To add to this, family constellation doesn't work just for family.
Hmm.
It works for every system.
Hmm.
And that means you can bring this into businesses, for instance, or
Hmm.
in a professional field, and you
Yeah.
can apply family constellation to this as well. So even though it is part of our family of origin and ancestors,
Hmm.
but we can apply in a business context,
Yeah.
organizational context.
Yeah. Well, this is where like the word systemic, and that makes
Yes,
more sense now hearing you explain it. It's like,
yes,
ah, yes, the different systems
yes,
that we've sort of created and bringing it into that sphere.
correct. Hmm.
Yeah, because
Yes,
obviously you're bringing lots of people from different family backgrounds together in a business, whether it's your clients or your co-workers or your staff, and there's different systems that they're all belonging to as well. Because then we've got sort of like the cultural, the religious, the beliefs, or spiritual, all of that kind of coming together. So yeah, so we
yes.
can work on the systems. It,
Even thinking, you work in an office with 20 other people and there is one person that you really don't get along with because, she looks like my mom, right? Or she behaves like my mom's and you don't have a good relationship with your mom. So, that's the trigger there.
yes, yeah, yeah. No, it's interesting that yeah, where you're like, oh, that person reminds me of so and so. That's why they just rub me up the wrong way, or yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. So how do people find out more about you? What you do? There's so just yeah, just give us a brief idea of what people can do next.
Okay, so I have a website which is called Mind and Soul Nurturing.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of information. There is, of course, the counseling and psychotherapy, because I also do this
Mhm.
individual, and I'm also specialized in couple therapy.
Yeah,
And family constellation group workshop, which I run usually once a month, and
yeah,
people can find the information there.
yeah.
And
I
if they
think when
want
this,
to book,
sorry,
they can,
yeah,
if they want to participate, they just need to book the ticket. Or if they want, more information, they can easily send me an email. And I'm
yeah.
always, happy to reply to any question because I know people will have a lot of questions.
Yes, yes, yeah. It's a lot to go through to try and get your head around it to start with. But like you said, it's experiential.
Yes,
And
exactly. It's very much experiential, and to come there and feel it is the best way.
yeah,
I know it can be, scary to be in a group, and if you've never done something like that, there is a little bit of anxiety behind.
yeah,
But we are all there for the same reason, and also it's a very private and confidential space. So I maintained, even during family constellation workshop, I maintain all the ethical boundaries and
mm,
of my work as a counselor.
yeah, yeah. So it's that safe space, which is
Yes.
important.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
So to
I
say
think,
the
but the
least,
sorry.
I have an event coming up um, next when is the 20th of September,
Yes,
right?
yes. So that one, that's going to be a special one.
Yes, exactly. So you talk about this.
Well, I was just where Isabella and I are going to be doing it together. So Isabella will be the driving force. I'll add some of the financial side as well. So we're going to be doing sort of the financial system, sort of systemic constellation to sort of delve into some of the past and break some of those patterns in a way that might have felt really hard to shift in the past. So it's going to be very exciting working together.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I'm very
wonderful. So
happy to work with you.
yes, oh, likewise. So we'll put all those links into the show notes. You can follow Isabella on socials, have a look at her website, and yeah, if you're in Brisbane, come along to a session. And if you're not in Brisbane, online is the next best way to do it. There's lots of different opportunities to do that, from the counselling and psychotherapy to the constellation as well. So that is all possible online too.
Yes, I also have a Facebook page, Instagram.
Yeah,
So people can follow me there and see what I do and if what I say resonate with them.
yeah,
But also, yes, in the nearest future, I will also do some constellation online,
yeah,
just to
wonderful.
give people more opportunity to do this great work.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is. It's yeah, it's quite remarkable actually. I was so surprised I'd never heard of it before, but now I'm like, oh, this is great. So I thank you again very much for being so open and sharing all of that wonderful information. Yeah, there's lots to unpack in that. So I think we're going to have another conversation about this.
Whenever you want. It's always a pleasure, to speak with you.
Lovely.
And thank
Likewise.
you again for having me in your podcast. I
Wonderful.
hope that a lot of people will find this helpful.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure they will. You might even need to listen to some of that again because it's yeah, it'll be playing around in your mind. So thank you again, and everyone listening, have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you next episode.
Thank you. Bye bye.